Indonesia semakin menarik nih karena kita tidak pernah kehilangan atau kekurangan musisi internasional yang datang ke negara tercinta kita ini. Baru aja semalam kita punya Jeff Scott Soto yang adalah seorang penyanyi rock dari US yang juga baru aja tampil sama Dewa 19 membawakan konser a tribute to Queen.
Wow.
When I walked in there, all the lights were on, I thought I was watching some AI.
Oh really?
The way they're making things with AI these days, it looks like a fantasy land.
Yeah.
I'm walking through them like, this can't be real. It's a beautiful modern club.
Yeah.
So the venue itself was just stunning. And so, of course, playing with Dewa, playing with Amadani and the guys, it's a thrill because before last year, I never heard of them.
Dan dia juga sudah terlibat di beberapa proyek nih. Coba Jebung boleh dibacain proyek-proyek ini.
Yang pertama ada Art of Anarchy, Sons of Apollo, Talisman, and Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Yes, dan tentu saja Soto.
Ya, Soto, itu gak boleh ketinggalan.
Kalau gitu kita langsung
It's in
tanya
his
aja,
name.
kita langsung. It's gonna be in English guys, so
Yes.
please bear with us. So please welcome Mr. Jeff Scott Soto.
Or
welcome.
Jeff Scott Soup.
Jeff Scott Soto, yeah.
And you love Soto, by the way.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Have you
I've only tried
You
the one.
lift your name.
Borgo? What's the name of it?
Bogor.
Soto
Soto Bogor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one I've tried.
How many Soto that you have tried?
That's the only one.
That's the only
I want to
one.
try some more when I'm here this time. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of Soto here.
I know. When we're driving in the street, I see Soto. So
Soto,
I'm like, wow,
Soto.
they really like me.
It's like a free promotion.
Like your fan base or something.
Oh yeah. They
We-
basically listen to your music as well. Oh,
No. When we played last year, we played in Solo. And when we go into the airport, there was a place that only sold soup. And in the airport, it said, Solo Soto. And of course, I took a photo.
So you have to try the Soto Mi. Actually, Soto Bogor is Soto Mi, but there are a lot of Soto Mi.
Soto Betawi.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Soto
yeah.
Betawi as well. Yeah, they also mix with some other ingredients that you have to definitely try.
Great.
All the Soto.
Enough about Soto.
You know, but Soto, okay.
Enough about me.
We're getting hungry. We're getting hungry. You
Okay.
just did a show with Dewa 19.
Yes.
How was it?
Well, first of all, the venue
Yeah.
is something like in a fantasy world. When I walked in there, all the lights were on, I thought I was watching some AI.
Oh really?
The way they're making things with AI these days, it looks like a fantasy land.
Yeah.
I'm walking through them like, this can't be real. It's a beautiful modern club.
Yeah.
So the venue itself was just stunning. And so, of course, playing with Dewa, playing with Amadani and the guys, it's a thrill because before last year, I never heard of them. And when I realized the size of this band, that everybody in Indonesia knows them for many, many years, it's like, wow, I didn't realize I was stepping into music royalty for Indonesia.
Yeah, Dewa
Oh, okay.
19 is a legend
Yeah,
here.
Yeah.
he's a legend.
Because,
Yeah.
I mean, there's many bands that could have invited me to do stuff with them,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I actually stepped into with
Yeah.
the biggest band, so it's fantastic.
How is the audience? Like, do you love Indonesian audience?
Oh yes, I mean they're just so happy. The music, the energy comes from the audience. I feed off the energy. If I'm on the stage and the audience is kind of like this, I'm going to give this kind of performance, or it makes me work harder to get them to. But they already have this energy. Of course, we're doing music from Queen, so everybody knows every song, and as soon as you start a song, they know the energy comes alive as well. So it's fantastic.
What was the first song that you played?
The very first song was "Tie Your Mother Down." We did it with the recorded intro from the Day at the Races album from Queen, the same way they do it, and then we went straight into the song. The very first song on that album is "Tie Your Mother Down."
Oh, okay.
So we opened the show with that.
But how did this collaboration started? I mean,
Yeah. How did it start?
It started, I think it was towards the end of 2022.
Okay.
I got a call from a keyboard player from Sons of Apollo, and he was collaborating with an Indonesian composer named Indra Putra. And he invited me, he said, would I want to sing on the particular song with other singers? They were trying to get I think it's about global warming. It was more of a message song. And I think Indra was trying to get Danny involved, and Danny was too busy, or maybe he was not interested at the time. we made the song. It's I think it's called Human Nature. I forgot the name. Now I feel stupid because it was such a great song. But it was a collaboration with my colleagues from Sons of Apollo and this writer Indra. And when they released it and Danny heard it, he goes, "Wow, I didn't know it was going to be like this.
Oh, okay.
We need to do something together now with the guys." And that's how we did the collaboration of the song Love is Blind last year. I recorded that song in America, sent my tracks, and then Dino Jalusic sent his tracks, and they made us as a duet for this Dewa 19 song that we did a new English version of.
Oh, okay.
That's where it all started. And so then they wanted to make a video. So Danny and Andra, they came to the US. We filmed a video there with the guys from Sons of Apollo and the drummer Simon Phillips from Toto. And that was my first introduction in person to Danny. And from there, all these other collaborations and things started to come.
So the music was done remotely?
Yes.
But the music video, they came to the US?
They were in Los Angeles, yes.
Oh,
so we shot there. I just finished a long tour. Me and Dino finished a long tour. We were really tired, and they said, "Guys, can we get you 3 days after we finish the tour in to make the video?" And that's what we did.
Oh, okay.
By the way, so before you stepped out the stage last night, you don't know what to expect, like from Indonesian audiences.
Yeah.
I do now because I did 3 shows with them last year with Dewa,
Oh, okay.
the stadium shows. But the stadium shows is a different energy because you're so far from them. Of course, you have the catwalk and you can see them, but when you're playing in open air with that many people, you lose a certain connection.
Yeah.
You don't hear them and you don't feel them as much as a intimate venue.
Yeah.
So last night was more intimate, and I can feel more of the electricity from the audience because it was enclosed. All the sound was there. It just everything was alive.
How does it feel working with Ahmad Dhani and Dewa 19?
Well, I said it when we did the press conference for this show just the other day. One of the bands that me and Danny, when I worked with him last year, we had long conversations about our love for Queen. Everybody loves this band, young and old. They love this band. There's always something for everybody from this band. But Danny and I were extreme freaks. We're Queen nerds.
Queen nerds.
Queen nerds.
Is that even a term?
It is now. We know the dates of the albums. We know where they were recorded. We know the producers. We know who wrote what song. We're like nuts. We're freaks. We're with Queen. So,
do you even know the strings that was used by Brian May? Like,
no,
not
now
that
that's
far.
maybe he does. So yeah, when we were talking about doing this, clearly we wanted to do songs that when people play Queen tribute shows or they do Queen songs, they primarily stay with the hits. And Danny and I always said, we want to go deep. We want to do some songs that they never did live or do songs maybe that people don't know, just to give it in between all the big songs, all the big songs that everybody knows. So yeah, it was, and so at the press conference, I said exactly this. We're covering one of the most diverse bands in the universe.
Yeah.
Queen were known to tackle so many different things, from pop to rock to opera to jazz, they did everything, blues. They did so many different styles of music because they were very good musicians and they had very open minds about music. And I compared the same mentality to Dewa, because these guys are not just hard rock guys. They're not just pop guys. They're not just jazz guys. They have a little bit of everything. And that's why I think Dewa's music is so diverse. The musicians are very good. They're very accomplished. And so it's an honor for me to actually do these shows with such great musicians like Danny and Andra. And the band are just phenomenal.
Apart from Dewa 19 and Ahmad Dhani, have you ever collaborated with Indonesian musicians before?
Never. I have no connection whatsoever before. That's why I didn't know what to expect when I was working with them on the first song and then coming to the stadium tour last year. I did not know what to expect. Now I'm getting a little more accustomed. I know what the feeling of the people. I know the feeling of the culture. I'm learning some of the words. Maybe I shouldn't say on here because...
But is there someone in your mind, like other than Dewa 19, that you think worthy to be mentioned in international
Maybe
audiences?
you just discovered them.
Yeah.
Well, there was a young girl last year that was on America's Got Talent.
Oh,
And
Putri.
Ariana, yeah.
Putri
And
Ariani,
I saw her on the show. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't even know she was Indonesian. When I was listening to, I came from the TV and go, my God, that voice is magic. And then she's wearing the headdress.
Yeah.
And then I realized it's Muslim background. And then obviously I saw that she was of Asian descent. So I connected it as being Indonesian. And then I saw how big she was. She was massive around a lot of the world, not just in Indonesia. So
and she's also blind.
Yes. And she's very young, but what a beautiful, pure voice. And I became a fan instantly. And when I found out last year we were doing one of the shows with Dewa, she was one of the artists on there. I got to meet her and take a photo and tell her I'm cheering on, hope she wins America's Got Talent because she made it pretty far. She's amazing. So that's my only real other connection with Indonesian artists. But I'm starting to learn more. With a lot of the people that work with us and working for Danny, they're in their own bands and they're playing me their things. And it's amazing. The talent out here is amazing.
By the way, you talk about the energy of the audience here. Is there any differences of audience that you met here in Indonesia and maybe in America?
Oh God, they're different around the world. There's different energies. I think like in Japan, for instance, they're more reserved. And I remember the first time doing a show there, you come from Spain or you come from South America and they're going crazy from the beginning to the end. And then you go to Japan and you hear,
oh, they're so disciplined even in concerts.
I'm like,
they bring their discipline even to concerts.
And I took it in the beginning, nobody told me what to expect. So I thought, uh-oh, maybe they don't like me. They don't like us. And then I find out later they respect they want to hear everything. They don't want to be making noise or talking while you're talking to them or while you're singing for them. They're really respectful and listening to. So it varies around the world how different reactions come from different audiences. Yes.
The venue last night was a club.
It was a massive club. Yes.
Okay. So like, what was the wildest reaction when you play what song?
Ooh, I would say, well, the biggest hits like Radio Gaga, Bohemian Rhapsody.
Radio Gaga is good.
We Will Rock You. Everybody likes to chant and sing along. So the big songs are the obvious ones, that people go the most crazy for.
Did you bring anyone onto the stage? Like,
well, we had
because usually in a club, like, anybody want to sing with me? No.
Well, there was
no chance.
I don't remember the name of the gentleman. It's a friend of Danny's. He's in the political side of things.
Okay.
And he was at our rehearsals. And when we're rehearsing, he knows every word to every song. So I would go out to him during the rehearsals and we're singing on my mic together. I saw him last night and he was doing the same. So I went to the side of the stage and I gave him the mic and he's singing. And the song is over and he's still singing. He's like, oh, give me the mic.
Okay, give it back.
Because we need to get back to the show.
Yeah.
Right?
And we saw at your Wikipedia that people know you best from Yngwie Malmsteen, while most of the music fans in the world, especially guitarists, love Yngwie because of his approach to neoclassical music.
Yes.
How was your experience with Yngwie? Because he was just performed in Harmosonic this year in Jakarta. Did you also was there?
No, I don't have much of a relationship with Yngwie these days. That's not my choice. That's his choice. Okay. But I started with him 40 years ago. This is my 40-year anniversary because I graduated high school. 7 months later, I'm singing for Yngwie. So I started my career 40 years ago.
40 years ago?
40 years ago.
40
That's
years.
longevity.
40, yes.
And your first career was singing for Yngwie?
Yes. I was in local bands in LA, high school bands, and my first, that's why I say I don't count all the years of in cover bands and stuff like that as my career. My professional career started in 1984, 40 years ago.
Oh my God.
So I did his first 2 albums and it was an amazing experience, but it was also one that I wasn't prepared for yet because I was so used to the camaraderie, the connection that you have with your friends. When you put a band together, it's usually with people you know, people you like, you hang out. It's not just the music, you do things together. When I joined Yngwie, I was an American and the rest of the band were Swedish and there was a cultural separation between us. Oh, okay. I didn't know anything about anywhere around the world, so I don't know how to act and react with the Europeans, and all that stuff was developing later in my life. But in the beginning, I didn't know how to handle it. So maybe I didn't absorb it. I didn't really dive into the culture side of things until much later when I started working with more international artists. But for me, it was a great experience, but it was also a hard experience because I was so used to being with my buddies, you know, your pals, and then all of a sudden that separation is there.
Okay.
By the way, you have 40 years in your career.
Yes.
I mean, as someone who just started, 40 years is so long. I mean, how
long.
No,
It's
no,
like a
it's
big
not,
pressure.
It's
like a
I'm
big
amazed.
pressure.
Can you get me a gun? I'm going to kill myself.
In
I'm
a good
such
way.
an old man
In
now.
a good way.
I
In a
know.
good way.
In a good
I mean,
way.
how do you keep up? 40
Yeah,
years
how do you
is
keep
a
up?
long way to keep
Like-
up with. I mean, in the music industry, I mean,
Right. I've seen
like
it.
a
Oh,
wave.
yeah. It's one of those things, and I say it all the time. When people ask me, do I have any advice for a young artist? I say, if you really, really want it, you're going to stay with it because you're going to get more no's than you're going to get yes. And you got to get used to those no's because that has to motivate you and drive you to continue to want to keep going. Without that, you're going to say, oh, this is too difficult, or I'm not cut out for this, and try something else, and you leave it. That means you don't really want it. So the ones who make it, the ones who persevere and stay with it, no. One of those times they're going to get a yes. And those yes, you keep using as a ladder to keep building up.
Oh, okay. But have you ever think about giving up?
Many, many times, but it's not an option. For me to do something else, especially at this stage of my life, I'm at the end, the tail end of my tenure. You know, I'm going to be 60 next year. So I want to take everything that I've done in the past 40 years and now just ride it out. Just take it as far as I can take it. I'm not trying to be an international rock star anymore. I'm not trying to be Steven Tyler or Paul Stanley, or I can name many names. I just want to be Jeff Scott Soto and take everything that I've been able to do and just keep, as long as people will want to come see me sing, I just want to keep doing it.
Okay. That's really awesome.
It's so inspiring because I just started my career like probably 3 to 4 years ago. And I even want to give up sometimes. And you still keep going at it for 40 years. I mean, it must have been so, I don't know. Is it exciting? Is it hard?
It's all of the above. And the hardest part for me was when my son was born. I was a young father. My son was born when I was just 22. So not having, if I started my career at the age of 18, that means I was only going for 4 years. I was still at the struggle stages. So of course you think, I have to earn money. I have to make a living. I have a son to support. I can't go chasing a dream, but my dream is my job. So I have to chase the dream to have my job, to make my money, to support my child. It all comes together, and it just made me work harder.
So it's like basically you trap in a cycle where you have to work to fulfill your life, but you also see that your work is your dream.
Sure. And the thing is, one of the things that I did early on, I got criticized a lot for, because especially back then, it was a different time. As you say, the music evolves, the music scene, the business, everything evolves and changes all the time. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. But back when I was starting up, you were in one band, you stayed with that band, you don't play with other musicians, you don't collaborate, you just stay with this band. So that way, when you have success, you did it all as one.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I was saying, well, I'm in one band, but I'm not making any money to pay my bills, to pay for my son. So I have to do collaborations. I have to write, I have to produce. I just kept spreading myself out there, putting my voice on other people's songs, collaborations, duets, stuff like that. And people were starting to criticize me, saying, Matt, you're just a musical whore. You just will. The first time I met Gene Simmons, it was in 1991 or something like this. I was introduced to him, and his first words to me were, "Oh, Jeff Scott Soto, the man who'll sing on anybody's album for $1." It's like,
Oh my God.
Oh my.
It's like a musical mercenary.
exactly. But that was the thing. I needed to use music as my way of making a living, I couldn't expect the bands that I was doing to help me just to make my living. And so I got criticized for doing too many things with too many people. And people would say, you know, if you just stay with one thing, maybe you would be more big around the world.
That's what they say.
And I totally disagree with that. Because I collaborated with so many people, not only did it give me more influence, I was able to take something I would never normally think of doing vocally or lyrically, because I work with this person. I'm going to remember that and use it for this thing. Oh, I got something from this thing. I'm going to use it for that thing. All of a sudden, my influence and my inspirations opened up even more. And so the stuff that I was doing for myself had a bigger diversity, a bigger, broader sound.
It's crazy how the music industry has evolved, because now everybody is collabing with everybody. Right?
Exactly. And that's what it's turned into. Especially in my world, the older rocker guys, it's super group frenzy out there. Every time you wake up, there's a new super group with all these guys from big bands, and they're collaborating, and it's a whole new group. And now all of a sudden, say, hang on a second, I was doing that a long time ago and getting criticized, and now everybody's doing it.
I mean, you like to collaborate with a lot of artists, and of course, it exposed you to a lot of genres. But specifically, like, which one do you prefer? Like, from all the genres
over time, like
it doesn't.
That have you
there
written?
is no answer for that.
No answer.
No
There
answer.
is no, because I love R&B, I love soul music, I love a lot of black music, jazz music, blues, and then I love rock, I love heavy metal, I love soft rock, I love pop, I love alternative. So because I love so many different things, I love creating a musical soup, a musical Soto. All the ingredients.
You really do live up to your name.
You really do live up to your name.
See, it was meant to be. My name was after a soup that has a little bit of everything in it.
Yeah.
But what genre that shapes you as a person?
It's impossible to answer that, because if I said just one genre, I'm leaving out something that's just as important to me. If I say, well, that's my life, it's not, because without R&B music, I couldn't do what I'm doing in rock, and without rock, I couldn't do what I'm doing in R&B music. I just they're all that important to me.
Okay.
But you've been influenced by a lot of genres. I mean, you said you love blues, jazz, R&B, rock. But when you start writing or producing music, is it just became, confusing because you love all the genres?
No, not at all. Because I'm injecting something that maybe wouldn't normally be there. If somebody comes in with a straight rock song, I will stick to the menu of what that song calls for, but I'll also add a little something in there that you might not expect. Let's take the band Sons of Apollo, for instance. That it was one of those super groups. Everybody was from different bands and different famous bands, Guns N' Roses, Dream Theater, Mr. Big, and together we made this band Sons of Apollo. But musically, Sons of Apollo is more of a progressive rock band, prog rock. And being prog rock, there's a lot of bands out there that don't have. It's very, I don't want to sound derogatory. It's very white. It's very straight. It's very it doesn't have a soul. Doesn't have like a black R&B vibe to it. And this is, I remember when I heard Mike Portnoy, our drummer from Sons of Apollo, doing interviews. He said, I think it's the first time I heard prog music with soul injected to it, because I naturally have that in me. Even if I'm doing rock, I also add a certain element of soul into it, and it kind of changes. You can get a different singer singing exactly what I'm doing, but it's not going to have the same soul. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm getting influences from something else that normally wouldn't be in this music, and even though I'm staying the course of that sound, it's getting something a little different.
Have you ever been this open to all genres ever since you started your career?
No.
When you were 18?
I hated rock when I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
It was a band. Queen was one of the first bands, because they were doing so many different styles, that when they did rock, it was like, oh, okay, that's okay. But the other stuff I hated. All my friends like Kiss and Ted Nugent and all this other stuff in the 70s, for me, it was noise. Even Aerosmith, I'm like, oh, it's terrible. It was the band Journey when they came about. We didn't mention that I sang for the band Journey as well. I was with them for 1 year before Arnel Pineda. And also the band Toto, because their singer was very bluesy, soulful. He could sing with a Motown band with his voice, but he was a white guy. And so I'm hearing this white soul with hard rock guitars, and all of a sudden, I like rock music now because the singers were so important to me. To me, that was what was missing. The soulful singers what was missing in rock music when I was growing up. And it wasn't until I discovered those bands, now I was getting into rock, and now I love it all.
So those bands were your turning point.
Exactly.
In your
it was Queen, Journey,
in
and Toto, yeah. And then it turned to Van Halen, and then started getting heavier. Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and all the heavy bands. Ronnie James Dio. So
it's getting heavier from there.
Yeah, but when I started with Yngwie, I was only singing hard rock for maybe 2 or 3 years. Before that, I only listened to the Bee Gees and the Little River Band, just really pop, really like R&B, soul, Motown, Marvin Gaye, Jackson 5, that kind of stuff.
It's kind of a switch, though.
Jackson 5.
Yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire, that was my life. I love that stuff,
Yeah.
So, and back then, it was kind of taboo. You know, if you're in a rock band and you bring up a band like Prince or Earth, Wind, and Fire, what do you, get out of here. They did, for some reason, people my age, when you were in bands of a certain genre, they didn't leave that crap out of here. Don't bring that stuff in here. I'm like, why? It's
so they don't like dancing in September.
Exactly.
Now do you still?
But everything, like you said, it changes, and then all of a sudden, bands were influenced by taking the funk and the groove and putting it into rock music, and that's a band like Extreme, for instance, is a band called Living Color. So many bands have started injecting both styles, and that's where I'm like, now we're talking.
Even some songs now, you cannot, like, when you hear it, you cannot really. Like, is it blues? But it sounds like jazz. Like everything is infusing into everything.
Every genre is incorporating each other nowadays. Like,
and that's what's important.
It's really hard to identify.
The music industry really needs it. They've allowed this process to happen. Back in the day, if you had too much dance or groove featuring in your songs, they say, I don't know what to do with this. I can't get this on rock radio, and it's too heavy to get on dance radio. So I don't know what to do with this. Now everything's just merging and coming together. There's so many, you have rock guys with dance guys, rap guys. I mean, Aerosmith would Run DMC, but that was a huge moment in this business.
Yeah, I think because once again, video killed the radio star.
Yes.
Yeah, but right now it's internet video killed the radio star.
Spotify killed the radio station.
But do you still discover new artists now or new music?
It's really difficult. I'm working so much that I really don't have time to listen to new music, except for when something becomes really popular and it's around you all the time, you hear it all the time. That's the only time I'm listening to new stuff. I'm just too busy to even listen to the stuff that I love already. So it's I stay busy. Everybody says, I don't know how you must have 3 of you out there because it just doesn't stop.
Trio.
But for me, this is not work. This is life. This is my music and my career, and the things that I do it's like the blood flowing through my veins. I have to do it.
You live on that stage. Yeah.
I wonder, I have this one specific question, like why most rock musicians wears black forever.
Well,
the color palette is
like
is it restricted?
You know the funny thing when I went to Hammer Sonic, there's this few rock festivals in Indonesia. One of them is Hammer Sonic. I went there like, I made a appointment with my friend, like, what color is your t-shirt? Black. You know, like everyone wears black.
Is there an unwritten rule where everyone needs to wear black?
I want to give you a clever answer, but as a touring musician, don't tell anybody. I know you have a lot of followers, so don't say anything. The real answer is it's easier to do laundry. If you have whites and yellows and you only have one day to just throw everything in one machine, all of a sudden everything is black. So just bring black, and it's easy to just do. I leave on tour, my socks are white. When I get home, they're gray.
So for convenience, guys.
So unless you're in a band like Dewa, where you have people taking care of everything, and everything could come, we could separate the yellows from the whites. It's impossible to build a band and go on tour and be able to afford doing your laundry. even
you know the merchandise, the t-shirts. All the band t-shirts, mostly blacks.
But this is again, we as artists, we have to give them what they're asking for. We have to give them what they want because you try to be creative, and you're going to have boxes and boxes of creativity not selling.
Creativity
Oh my God,
not
boxes
selling.
of creativity not selling. That's
We
the
gotta
underline.
stole that quote.
That's the underline part, not selling.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your next upcoming schedule? Do you have any more
Projects
collaborations?
or maybe something that we
specifically?
can wait out.
Yeah.
Well,
in
I have
Indonesia,
two more
maybe?
shows here in Indonesia before I go back to Los Angeles. What's the name of the city?
Yogyakarta.
Yogyakarta.
Yeah. And then Surabaya, but that Surabaya is not a Queen show. It's just a special night of music with featuring Amadani.
Okay.
And it's several singers. It's not. Yeah, we're not doing a tribute show in that one. That's just a collaboration of different singers. Next up, I'm doing this collaboration. There's a band in the U.S. that started in the early '90s called Saigon Kick.
Okay.
And they were I think the third album was quite popular here in Indonesia. And the guitar player is a very, very dear friend of mine. And I've known him since my son was born, since 1988. And he's been doing a lot of acoustic shows. He's taken the Saigon Kick brand and he wrote all the songs. So he strips down to a acoustic show, but it's more of a comedy show because he's really clever. He's really smart. Mm-hmm. And he comes, when you go to his show, you're laughing more than you're listening to music. So we've been friends for so long. And one time I guested with him doing one song. The next time I did 3 songs. And then the next time he said, let's do the whole show together. This was back in 2018 or 19. Since then, we've been doing shows together and they keep building in the US. We keep moving. And we want to take it overseas. Saigon Kick was huge in Indonesia, so I think this combination would actually work out here. The only problem is there's a lot of talking, a lot of comedy. There's a lot of American pop culture that maybe wouldn't
be relevant here.
And we don't like to think when we do it. Everything has to be spontaneous.
Yeah.
So it would be difficult for us to be spontaneous in another country if we're doing things that don't resonate with the audience.
Their culture.
Yes. So, but I'm doing a few of those shows.
What about new songs? Is there new songs or songs that you wrote? Or you
maybe you're gonna sing
now?
in Bahasa Indonesia.
That would be difficult. He only came here like one time, and you expect him to write songs in Bahasa.
Yeah, right. I've got the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, as you mentioned earlier. I sing for. I'm going on 16 years now with them. And that tour every year is November, December. It's a holiday show, a very Christmas holiday-oriented show. So you can only do Christmas show maybe early November is the soonest you can go. You start doing it in August and September, it
will be weird.
Yeah, it's not even Halloween when you're singing Christmas songs. So I do that every year for November, December, and I'm going back again with them this year. And that's going to fill up my year, starting with this and doing shows with Jason Bieler and then TSO. And then next year, there's a lot of stuff coming up, but I can't talk about it yet.
Busy year. You always keep yourself so busy.
And some of it is out of necessity.
Yeah.
We're talking about making a living and sometimes you get offers that are too good to say no to. So you could be busy. Oh, now I got a break. Of course I'll do that. So all of a sudden break is over.
Yeah.
Like even today, since I landed, it's been go, go, go. I've been rehearsals for 8 hours a day. And then yesterday was a 15-hour day from rehearsal to sound check to the gig. And I barely got any sleep. And instead of a day off, I'm here talking to you. So it's part of it. You have to do it. You have to do it to keep the momentum, to expand, to get people interested and keep people interested. And even talking to Vanya, who's brought me to you guys to do this today, building an audience is now all social media. Back in the day, you have to go on tour, you have to do radio interviews, magazine interviews, all that is gone. Now it's all social media. So you have to find new and creative ways to keep the momentum going.
Mm.
Yeah.
Even though you're so busy, you really seem like you're enjoying all of this busyness. But if you weren't a rock singer, like what would you be? Like
dead.
Maybe
dead.
Yeah. That's the only answer I have on that mess.
That's the only answer.
But it's exactly like you said. If I look like I'm enjoying it, it's because I am. Because I'm one of the lucky few. When you think there are thousands, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of musicians trying to get that same spot that I have. If I let it go, they're going to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
there's room for everybody, but yet not everybody gets that chance. So I don't just enjoy it. I have to do it just to even feel alive. During the pandemic, when we were all locked down at home, I did so many collaborations because otherwise I'd just be sitting and watching TV and feeling depressed about myself. Instead, I locked myself in my room 7 to 8 hours a day doing collaboration videos, writing songs, singing on albums, just keeping that flow going. That was my therapy that got me through, not just financially, but just even personally, emotionally.
It's amazing how you still have that passion even
Yeah.
years and years into your career.
You're literally talking like you're 20 years old.
And you're just 2 years into your career. Like as if
Well, part of that does come from the fact that I'm able to be successful enough to earn a living from it.
Yeah.
So because I know I can prosper from it, if I was making nothing from it year after year after year, of course, at some point you go,
what
it's
am I
not
doing?
going anywhere. Yeah, I love it, but it's more of a hobby because a hobby is not going to make you money. The hobby is not going to earn you a living to most people. So it's not a hobby for me. It's a way of life. So I have to utilize that way of life to not only make a living, but also even to exist.
Even to exist.
Even to exist. Oh my God! Like we have already so
Right.
many materials
To quote.
Yeah, for
You can
us
use
to
it
edit
for
the
your
video,
media captions.
and we will give you like, oh, this is like the quotable.
People are
quotable.
going to use your quote for Instagram
Yeah,
captions.
yeah.
The caption is Jeff Scott Soto. He has a box of creativity only to exist.
Only to exist. Okay, thank you, Jeff Scott, for sharing with us.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so
When
much.
are you
for
going
having
back
me.
to the LA?
I leave next weekend. I think it's on Sunday next week after the Surabaya show.
Okay.
So it's a short trip this time. Last year I was here for a month, which was great.
Month.
We had a week off. We went down to Bali. It was fantastic. But this is a quicker trip. I'm working every day until I leave. So I'm going to make the most of it.
We hope you will come back here
Oh, I think
with more and more shows and fit our country to your busy schedule.
I have to thank Danny for
Yeah.
this alone because he's allowing me to have the biggest introduction to Indonesia that I could have. I could have come with my own band or with something else in a smaller way. I'm coming into the country in the biggest way. So I really owe a lot to him for giving me this open door to come into play for Indonesian people.
Okay. Luar biasa sekali kalau begitu buat teman-teman semua yang masih akan menonton di video ini direkam lagi mau ada 2 show lagi ya berarti ya.
Iya, di Yogyakarta
Dan juga
Surabaya.
di Surabaya. Semoga semuanya bisa menikmati penampilan dari Jeff Scott Soto. So this is gonna be the end of the talk.
Yes.
Thank you,
Mohon
Jeff
maaf
Scott.
flu-nya.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Sampai jumpa di video
Bye-bye.
berikutnya. Bye-bye.